Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon. This is Abelardo de la Peña Jr. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. Welcoming you to tonight. This afternoon's En Casa con la Plaza Cocina. En Casa con la Plaza is our virtual programming. We've been doing it since April of 2020. And we're happy to present these presentations, demonstrations, conversations, and performances from our home, in this case, my office home, to your homes, on your smartphones, pads, laptops, lo que sea. We're just glad that you're here with us. We took the week off last week, and Casa took the week off for a much needed vacation, but we are back. Before we get started, La Plaza is open. We're open today from noon to 5. We're closed Tuesday, but of course, we're open Wednesdays through Mondays from noon to 5 p.m. La Tienda gift store is also open, so bring your cash, debit, or credit card, or you could go to laplazatienda.org and see what we have and actually order online. All of our exhibitions are open, including LA Starts Here, Calle Principal, and our three temporary exhibitions, Afro Latinidad, Mi Casa, My City, Carlos Almaraz, Evolution of Form, and Only Light Can Do That, a neon art installation by Patrick Martinez that you could check out by coming by on Main Street by foot, bike, or car. You can actually go over a couple blocks and check out La Plaza Village murals as well. Beautiful murals by Judith Hernandez, Barbara Carrasco, Miguel Angel Reyes, and Jose Lozano. Our public programming is also in full swing with music, dancing, family days, workshops, and more. Just this past weekend, we had Selena Fest with a screening of the wonderful movie, a Selena tribute band, vendors, and some great surprises. This Friday is our second Summer of Salsa dance concert with the Echo Park Project, a dynamic New Yorican style salsa group. Gates open at 6 p.m. It's free of charge. Bring your own beach chairs. We also have seating that you could that we have available here, and we do, of course, comply with all county guidelines. Finally, our annual Pobladores Awards Gala is on Wednesday, September 29th, honoring the founders of La Plaza, our big fundraiser of the year. Please go to our website at lapca.org for more info. And with that, let's welcome Jimena Martin, our Director of Programming and Culinary Arts, to take us through today's En Casa con la Plaza Cocina.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, it was nice to take a week off, but it's great to be back, no?
Yes, it is.
Well, to start off, we have a guest friend. We met 6 years ago when we had our first Queer Brown exhibition, LGBTQ, and he was our official barman for the grand opening. He made this beautiful pineapple tapache drink with mezcal, amazing. And then time went on, and then he wrote this beautiful Chicano Eats, New York Times top seller. Amazing, delicious birria recipe. Now that everyone's doing birria, I highly recommend this book. And we are so fortunate that we have him back for this very hot day here in Los Angeles, making up some horchata, strawberry horchata. But we have even more news. He has another book coming out. So without much ado, please let me introduce Esteban Castillo. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
I am so excited to be back. Thank you for having me back, Jimena. I can't believe it's been a year since we last did this, where I was making, what was it, my toasted coconut horchata?
Yes, yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, today we're gonna be making, this is a newer recipe for me. This is my strawberry horchata. This was actually one of the recipes that didn't end up making it to the book because it wasn't quite perfect. But now it's nice and perfect and it's ready to be made. So let's go ahead and get started.
No, todavía no. You got to tell me about your second book that's coming out. A little bird told me that you're writing another book. So yes. I would really love to know more about, when you were here last time, you talked about how you made the pitch and you were great to use your photographs, your graphic input, and to make that all work. So can you tell us a little bit more about your second upcoming book?
Yeah, I mean, my first cookbook was published last summer, June 30th, 2020. And that was great. This audio. Can you guys hear me a little bit better?
Yeah, just maybe it's a little bit louder. Un poquito más.
Yeah, so my first cookbook was published last summer, and that was such a crazy experience having to publish a book in the middle of a pandemic. You know, I wasn't able to do a lot of the traditional, advertisement for the book in terms of like doing a book tour and things like that. So it was kind of a scary time, and I wasn't sure if the book was going to end up being published because of everything that was going on. I was still working on this book up until April of last year, and then it was published in June. So it was just, you know, everything was moving super quickly. But because of the pandemic, I ended up doing online cooking classes so that my readers were able to get some hands-on experience by cooking alongside with me from the book. And that was such a wonderful experience. I probably did over 20 classes. They were all selling out super quickly. And birria, like you were saying, was one of the things that really just did so well. And it's kind of funny because that's one of the dishes that my family is known for. Mi abuelito, my mom's side of the family has always earned their living by cooking. When I was growing up, both of my parents were undocumented, so I got to go to Mexico by myself, and I would be there every summer and a couple of other times throughout the year. And so the time that I would spend there was with my grandparents, who were making fresh cheese. Mi abuelito was a salinero, which meant that he was a sea salt miner. So he would do that every spring. And then for the rest of the year, he actually would make birria for people around town. And then he also had a taco cart. And so yeah, it's been really crazy. And the book was published by HarperCollins. And at the time when I was approaching publishers with the idea of Chicano Eats, the only person that I came across that was a Latina in the publishing industry was with HarperCollins, Christina Garces. And, you know, she was one of those people that immediately understood the concept and was like, I want you, I want to work with you. And that was so reassuring, because all of the other teams that I met with were wonderful, but it was very much a white landscape. And I wasn't sure if my Spanglish and my Latinidad was going to be able to come through by working with someone else that didn't really understand that journey. And so it was such a gift to be able to work with a Latina who had lived in Mexico before. She's Puerto Rican, but she had lived in Mexico. And so that was it was a match made in heaven. And I really enjoyed working with them. I'm also a graphic designer. My background is in public relations and in graphic design. So I had to have, you know, some great input into this. I did all of my own photography. And so when I approached them with the concept of Chicano Bakes, which is my second upcoming cookbook, they were like, do it. We love everything that you did with Chicano Eats, and we trust you. We love your work, and you just run with it. So that's what I've been working on. I'm finishing up the book in mid-September. I currently have some mantecadas and some cajeta that I was testing. So it's just been crazy. And yeah, my next cookbook is going to just focus on, it's going to be taking you on a trip to La Panaderia. While we were in quarantine, I realized that while everybody was baking sourdough, you know, we were kind of left out of that conversation because we don't really have those tools and resources to make pan dulce and some of these desserts that we love. You know, people have time on their hands, but we don't have the tools. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. It's literally just a no-brainer, especially after considering that recipes like marranitos and mantecadas and pastel de niños, which is the cortadillo or the pancake, are some of the most popular recipes on my website. I was like, it just makes sense. And so, yeah, it's gonna be coming out next year.
Congratulations. That's so wonderful. I know during quarantine, again, the sourdough, I was in making conchas, like really diving deep. I did have to order the special concha cutter to cut onto it. But yeah, the whole thing is celebrating the bolillos, tetela, all the different types of breads. It made me be resourceful and find other Mexican cookbooks to make it out and keeping those traditions and doing so. So are you making any bolillos, or is it going to be just all sweets?
Yeah, no, so definitely I'm cutting the book up into 6 different chapters. I want it to be well-rounded because to me, the panaderia, you know, I grew up in Santana, right behind El Toro Meat Market. And for us, that was such a gift because we had a carniceria, we had a panaderia, you know, we had access to fresh cuts of meat and fresh cheese all the time. And when I look at panaderias here in the US versus in Mexico, panaderias tend to be, in certain places, they tend to be sort of like an all-in-one where they're using their baked goods to make other things like tortas or, you know, enchiladas or whatever else, you know. And in some places, they're kind of a cultural hub where, you know, like when I was going to school up in Northern California, we had maybe it was like 2 little Mexican markets, and that Mexican market was also a little panaderia and a liquor store. And so I wanted to be well-rounded and not just focus on baking. So we'll have basics, which will have things like tortillas, tortillas de harina, bolillos, telera rolls, cajeta, vanilla extract, and then you'll move into pan dulce mexicano. So you'll have recipes for conchas and roles de canela and all those sorts of things. And then you'll move into tamales, you know, and then you'll move into antojitos, where you're going to be using some of the recipes for like basics and tortillas and bolillos for simple tortas and frijoladas. And then I have desserts for gelatinas and chocoflanes. I'm going to have 3 different chocoflanes.
Delicious.
That I'm really excited about. And then I'm gonna have a drink section because, you know, you need something to wash it down. So you'll have a couple of atoles, you'll have maicenas in there, and you'll have a couple of agua frescas. So I'm excited.
I'm excited just listening to it. And it's coming out when, September of next year?
Yeah, September of next year. Yeah.
So that's perfect, just right in time. And we can bake any time of the year, but all those other cocktails and things like that, right for the holidays, with tamales and all that. Before we get started, we have a couple folks saying, Tina Web King Martin says, yum, hearing all this, what you're doing. And then we have Erica Q Santillan says, hello, watching from Rancho Cucamonga. Where is this book? Where can we find your book? Let's start with the first book, Chicano Eats.
You can find Chicano Eats anywhere that books are sold. So Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore, Amazon. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go to my website, chicanoeats.com, and it should be like on the little search bar. But yeah, anywhere books are sold, Target.
Well, I hope post-pandemic, I know you're up in Fresno right now, that you can come down and visit. I would love for you to do a class. Lots of folks here are asking about book signing. That's awesome that you can get it on your website. It'd be nice to see in person so our folks can ask you directly all these great cooking questions for you.
I would love that. I didn't get the chance to do that with this book, and I hope that things are better or well enough that I can do something a little bit more exciting with my next cookbook.
Okay. Well, let's do your horchata.
Yeah. So this is a strawberry horchata, and you can make this with condensed milk to make it, you know, have some dairy, or you can make this dairy-free and vegan by using coconut condensed milk. I don't abide by a vegan diet, so today I'm going to be using condensed milk. But we're going to start by removing the top off of 2 cups of strawberries. And then I have a little bowl here that I'm just going to be tossing my strawberries in, just removing those tops. Last year when I was developing recipes for the book, if you don't have a copy, I actually have 3 different horchata recipes in my book. I have one just for classic horchata, I have one for matcha horchata, and then I have one for a dairy-free vegan toasted coconut horchata. This was one that gave me a lot of trouble. And it was because I couldn't figure out how to incorporate the strawberries without the texture being mealy. It was like very grainy. No sé, it's hard for me to explain. It just, the strawberries didn't incorporate well enough with the rest of the drink. And I realized that that's because you can't toss in the strawberries raw. They can't be fresh. You have to cook them down a little bit. And so what we're going to be doing is tossing these into a small saucepan with a little bit of water and some sugar to make them soft, to soften them. And then that'll just help them incorporate into the rest of the drink so much easier.
I have a quick question. You know, we're fortunate here in California, we're able to get fruits and vegetables year long. For some of our other folks who watch in different parts of the country, I'm going to cheat. So it sounds like you're making like almost like a jammy kind of thing. Could you use like preserves to alternate to add on to the horchata?
It's not quite a jam because we're not adding an excessive amount of sugar. A jam or a jelly is going to have a lot of sugar, but this is just going to be incorporated with about a cup of water and then just a tablespoon of sugar. Really, all we're doing is just helping them soften so that it really just changes the, como se dice, like the makeup of the strawberry.
If we don't have fresh, can we use frozen?
You can. I would just let them, como se dice, defrost. And then you can also toss in the juice. A lot of people are typically afraid of using frozen fruits and veggies, but they're always going to be picked at their most ripe stage. So they're probably going to be better than what you're going to find in stores, especially if either like tomatoes or the strawberries aren't in season. You know, your best bet is probably going to be to use frozen. So I have my strawberries, a cup of water, and then I'm going to add a tablespoon of just white granulated sugar. And I'm going to place this over medium heat. And we're going to let this come to a simmer, and then we'll just let it simmer for about 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions while this comes to a simmer?
We have some saludos. Raquela from Saludos desde Sacramento. And yeah, just people just saying hello. And again, Miriam Lopez is asking where's the best place to get your books and about the book signing. So once that all out, once post-COVID, that we can have those beautiful book signings in person. So what else is coming on? Do you see a book number 3 now that you're kind of in deep in book number 2?
Listen, I went from one cookbook to promoting that and then now writing another cookbook all within, 2 years. And I think I need a vacation. Especially with this baking book. Baking is a science and it has to be precise every time. So there's just definitely been, I feel like, twice the amount of work that went into, like a savory recipe. And so I definitely need a good break after this.
Well deserved, well deserved. Quick question, do you test drive all your recipes or do you have family and friends try them out before they go actually into the book?
I try to keep everything in-house because sometimes there's things where I'm looking for a specific taste or like a specific texture. And if I'm not able to explain that and convey that to someone else, then it's a little bit harder for me to release a recipe to someone else. My husband is also a food blogger, and so he'll help me sometimes here and there if there happens to be a recipe that's also that he's a little bit more familiar with. Let's say something basic like a pie bar, or no sé, something that he is well aware of, like the taste. Then he'll jump in and help me. But for the most part, it's usually just me testing everything myself.
100% Esteban.
So I'm just gonna let this simmer for a couple of minutes. And we can start getting everything else ready. For the rest of the horchata, we're gonna be using a cup of rice. I'm using long grain rice. I've noticed since I've gone onto TikTok that there is a great debate whether or not you should be washing your rice for horchata. And for me specifically, I don't like to wash my rice because you're washing a lot of the starches away. And what we're doing, if you're going to be keeping this non-dairy, then you want the starches there because they're going to add a little bit of thickness and body to the horchata. Because we're essentially making rice milk. We're going to be using some almonds too. So we're using the starches to thicken it and just give it that body. And if you're washing it, then you're rinsing all of that away. Okay, so this looks good. We can start toasting. Let me place this over here. So I'm gonna toast my almonds, and I'm just gonna gently toast them to add a little bit more depth to the horchata. And I have about a half cup of sliced almonds. And then to this, I'm gonna add 2 cinnamon sticks, and I'm gonna break them up. And we're just gonna lightly toast this for about 3 to 4 minutes, really just until the almonds start to get nice and fragrant. You don't wanna over toast them, otherwise the flavor of toasted almond will be a little strong and overpower everything else. And then we're also incorporating the cinnamon here to release the oils.
So I know you've been, your first book. What is your favorite recipe out of that book?
My favorite recipe out of Chicano Eats has got to be the birria recipe, because it's one that gave me the most trouble. A lot of recipes in the cookbook didn't almost make it because I'm a perfectionist and I need them to taste like home, And so when I was developing the birria recipe, I felt like I was under a lot of pressure because mi abuelito and my mom are all just like really great cooks. And that's one of the dishes that they are known for. And so I was like, I needed to be up to their standard. And after a lot of trial and error, on my very last try, I remember walking into the kitchen and it smelled like my mom's house. And I knew it was perfect. And it was. And it's one of the recipes that has really just taken off from the book.
Why do you think everyone's into birria so much? It was just like overnight, everyone's making birria, the quesadilla tacos. It was all over the place. Do you have an idea like what inspired most of to make it all?
Honestly, I feel like it's because you're using cheese in the quesadilla tacos. I feel like anything where you're able to like Instagram a nice cheese pull always does really well and is like super trendy. And so I feel like that aspect of birria, incorporating it into the quesadilla tacos, is really what helped it take off.
And the videos are great. There's this woman up the street here on Pico, Pobres Tacos. It was great. She had these great slow motion. So she would have them grilling and then she put like the juice, so the caldo on top.
Yeah.
They were just amazing. Everybody would run out to go get them because they were just they were delicious.
And I feel like that's usually how food goes, if it's something where it can go viral, it'll just take off. And initially, when I started seeing birria everywhere, a part of me was kind of annoyed because I was like, this is something that I grew up eating, For us, it's something that we would, for our birthdays, my mom would make us either birria or pozole. And my family's from Colima, so we always had pozole blanco or birria. And growing up in Orange County, I always felt kind of shy about my culture and my identity because I was always made to feel like I was less than. And so when I started seeing birria everywhere, I was a little bit annoyed because I was like, this is something that I enjoyed and that's special to me. And to see other people sort of take it,
appropriating it.
Yes, was kind of a little bit annoying. But that definitely is an invitation though to discover so many more aspects of our cuisine and our culture. So it's got its pros and its cons.
Yeah. Before we continue on, we have Jesse Vela says, love all of it.
Okay, so this is starting to smell like toasted almonds and toasted cinnamon. So I'm gonna transfer this to a bowl here. And then let me get some hot water really quick. For this, I like to add 2 cups of hot water. I don't want them boiling, but I don't want them cool either because the hot water will help extract even more flavor than cold water would, or, you know. So we're gonna let this chill. I already have a batch that I made earlier. So this is hanging out. And now what I'm gonna do is transfer it to my blender. Let's see if I can do this carefully and not make a mess. And you typically want to let this sit for about 4 hours. You'll know when the mixture is ready, when you can easily just break a little, ¿cómo se dice? A little rice.
Kernel? Kernel rice dough?
A little piece of rice.
So you shared what was your favorite recipe for the first book, the birria. And now that you're doing book number 2, what have you been falling in love with? What's your favorite recipe for that book?
That's kind of a hard one because I spent so much time on each one. And so I care about all of them equally. But you know what? I have always really enjoyed cajeta. And the type of cajeta that I grew up with from Colima always came in a little wooden boat. And we would take the little top off and eat it. No sé cómo se llama. It's like a certain type of cajeta because it's not like syrupy and it's also not like dulce de leche. It's got a much different consistency. But it has to be cajeta. The one that the recipe for cajeta that I'm including in the book is actually for a cinnamon bourbon cajeta to make it even better.
So for the cajeta, usually cajetas are made with goat's milk.
Yeah, it's traditionally made with goat's milk. It's similar to dulce de leche, where it's just milk reduced with sugar. In mine, I like to add a little bit of brown sugar, some cinnamon, and then bourbon to add so many more layers to the cajeta. And I love having cajeta on just a fresh bolillo with a little bit of butter. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite recipes. It's super simple to make, but there's just so much going on there. Okay, so let me move this, guys. Oh, and you know what else I really love in the book? It's gotta be just the classic flan. It's one of those recipes that took me forever to really perfect because a lot of people overbake their flans. And I feel like we're all used to terrible flan.
Yes. Yeah, flan's tough. Either it's really good or not so much.
Yeah. Like when you purchase it from the grocery store, you know, I love Northgate, I love Cardenas, but you know, a lot of the times their flans tend to be overcooked. And that's one of the things that I realized when I started cooking is that we're used to overcooked flan. And if your flan starts to look like Swiss cheese, then you're overbaking.
Yeah, the curdled.
I like to incorporate half and half into mine. It makes it so much more silky and smooth and just really creamy. And that's one of those recipes where I feel like I have really won the lottery because it's so perfect. And I also like to bake mine at a lower temperature for a little bit longer so that it doesn't overbake and then it's just right.
You do it al baño Maria?
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, Carmen Alcazar says, I have your book and the recipes are all 100. My family shares the Colima recipes. Love pozole blanco. Yes, the cajeta is wonderful in a wooden boat.
Yes, I wish I could explain the consistency because it's different, it's unique. And it's just, we would remove the little tops that were also wooden and then we would just use it like as a cuchara. And I just love cajeta. Oh my gosh. So I have my water, the cinnamon sticks, almonds, and then rice here. And I'm just gonna give this a quick pulse for about 20 seconds to make sure everything is nice and thoroughly blended. And then I also made my strawberry, I don't know what I would call this because it's not a syrup, but it's just a puree. All you do is you take our mixture from earlier, you give this a blend, and now we can just strain our horchata into a pitcher. And if you happen to make horchata pretty often, I would highly recommend going to IKEA. They have these like wire mesh filters for coffee that are just so great for this. Does anybody have any other questions while I'm...
No, not yet. But quick question, is there any way to make this horchata an adult cocktail?
Yes, you can always add a couple of shots of rum. I was actually, I was going back and forth on whether or not to include a couple of like boozy recipes in Chicano bakes. But there was an horchata rum punch that I was like thinking about. So adding a couple of shots of rum is like a delicious idea.
Just in time for the holidays.
Oh yeah.
Got a quick question from Indira Jimenez is asking, can we freeze this drink for later use?
Yeah, you can. You can always freeze it.
But it's probably so delicious, it's probably going to be finished.
Oh my gosh.
End of day.
It's not going to last.
How long did it take for you to perfect this recipe, Esteban?
I started developing this in 2018. I gave it a couple of tries. And like I was telling you guys earlier, like I couldn't figure out how to properly incorporate the strawberry aspect into this. So I started in 2019 and then I stopped because I didn't make it into the book. And then this summer I was like, you know what? I want to take it on again. And I was doing some experimenting and cooking the strawberries was just the way to go. So now I'm going to add that strawberry puree. And then we're gonna add some water. There's certain fruits that are just kind of finicky. When I was developing recipes for Chicano Eats, there were a couple of things that I wanted to make with hibiscus. And for some reason, when you bake hibiscus, it turns gray. It like oxidizes and it changes color. And so a lot of the things that I was trying to develop were just not pretty. And then to finish this, we're just going to sweeten this with a little bit of condensed milk. And like I said, you can keep this dairy-free and vegan by using coconut condensed milk instead.
Is it easy to find the coconut condensed milk?
Yes, I typically find it at Walmart. You can also find it at Whole Foods. I think Target carries it now. but Sprouts Farmers Market, and then any sort of health food store should carry it. If you don't happen to live anywhere near those stores, you can find it on Amazon as well. We're just giving it a stir. And then, let me clear this off. Then I have a cup filled with ice here. And we are done. I wish you guys could smell this. It smells like strawberries con crema. It's the sliced the toasted almonds with the cinnamon, and then the rice and the creamy strawberries is just like so delicious.
Can you, we do feel like for Instagram, we have our folks hold it and smile. Can you say, hold it so we can take a photograph, please?
Hold on, let me clear my station really quick.
Okay. There you go. 1, 2, and.
Let's say horchata.
Horchata.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a couple questions on our Facebook. We, of course, stream to Facebook along with Zooming. From Carmen Alcazar, she's asking, Esteban, why Chicano Eats as the title?
Hold on, someone had a question about these. So let me get these over here so you guys can see a little bit better.
Oh yeah, well that was my question. Well, let's get back to Carmen's question first. Why Chicano Eats as the title?
Chicano Eats is the name of my food blog. I started a food blog in 2016 called Chicano Eats, and it was really just a place for me to release some creative energy. I immediately after, I'm sorry, what was that?
Nope.
Oh, immediately after college, I started doing marketing for a federal nonprofit. And so I just felt kind of unfulfilled because I've always been super creative in terms of like music and food and photography. And so I started the food blog Chicano Eats to sort of just, you know, spend that creative energy there. And I also, because my husband was a food blogger when I first met him, I was kind of already involved in that food world. And so he was like, why don't you start your own food blog? You already love to cook. You use any opportunity you can to make things. Why don't you do this? And so I started Chicano Eats, and it's been a place where I have been able to infuse non-traditional recipes into traditional recipes, non-traditional ingredients into traditional recipes. And it's just, I don't know, it's been a place where I can just be creative. And I've always taken the approach to food that my mom did. You know, when she first came to this country, she had to adapt her recipes to the things that she was able to find locally. And that's I feel like that's the case for a lot of first generation, you know, I feel like it applies across the board to not just Mexican Americans, but, you know, other cultures. And so, yeah, because I'm Mexican American and I never felt like I fit in here or there, but was an amalgamation of like everywhere, I felt like Chicano Eats was the perfect title.
All right, it's a great title. And then we could get back to Rosibel Guzman's question. What is cooling in the muffin pan? Resting on the stove?
These are mantecadas. This is one of the recipes that I've been testing for Chicano Bakes. And I was testing a batch of mantecadas. And then I was also making dulce de leche. And after this, I'm gonna be making a batch of cajeta. But it's just, dulce de leche and cajeta are just, I wish you guys could see this. It's like liquid gold.
We wish we could be there too.
I know, want some of that, this kind of spoonful and start eating. But as always, Deb, it's such a pleasure to see you. I'm so happy on your second book. I want to hear more once you have it published, or maybe give a sneak peek for En Casa or En Cocina, como sea. I would love to have you back. And as always, muchísimas gracias for sharing. If you guys, your Instagram is Chicano Eats, yeah?
Yeah, you can follow me across social media as at Chicano Eats. You can also find a lot more recipes on my food blog, chicanoeats.com. I will be launching a series of cooking classes for the holidays. So I'm going to be doing tamales and some pan dulce. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I don't think Chicano Bakes will be up for pre-order until the spring of next year. That usually takes a little bit of time to go up. But yeah, Chicano Bakes will be out in fall of 2022.
Fantastic. I can't wait to pre-order and go back and revisit my Chicano Eats cookbook. As always, muchísimas gracias. I hope to see you very soon. Éxitos adelante. Have a wonderful, thank you. Now pasan to mi compañero, Abelardo.
All right, thank you so much. That looks delicious. And I guess you had pre-planned it because I see you're going to have the horchata with the mantecada. I think that's a perfect combination. All right, well, thank you. Go ahead.
I have to say, you guys can find the full recipe for the horchata. Jimena, I'm not sure if you are going to share it, but you can also find this on my Instagram.
Yes, Abelardo just posted it, and we do paste it on our Facebook. But also, other thing too, your Instagrams are so generous. As I'm always very so thoughtful of sharing your recipes, you know. And so there's a great chance to go in there and dive in and experiment. And again, thank you again for your generosity.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. And all of you out there, if you want to catch this session one more time, if you came in late, you want to see it again, we'll be posting it on our YouTube page at La Plaza LA. It also stays on our Facebook page at La Plaza LA, and it'll go, of course, on our website at lapca.org. That's this recipe, along with all our other cooking demos that we've done over the past year and a half. We have quite a repertoire of incredible recipes that have been demonstrated by chefs, cookbook authors, food historians, and more. Next week on Monday, of course, En Casa con la Plaza Cocina, pollo rostizado en adobo with Leslie Teles, food journalist and cookbook author. I'm really looking forward to that one. And that's that's on August 23rd, next Monday at 3 p.m. The rest of this week, we have August 18th, which is Wednesday at 7 p.m. Kind of food oriented. It's called Backstreet to the American Dream with Patricia Nazario, a journalist and filmmaker who discusses the food truck industry here in LA, a kind of a historical overview of the food truck industry, both from the Mexican side and also the gourmet truck. So that should be interesting this Wednesday, August 18th. And then live at La Plaza on Friday, we have Summer of Salsa with the Echo Park Project, an incredibly dynamic orchestra playing New Yorican style salsa. That's at doors open at 6 p.m. And of course, we have food. It'll be Tirsa's Cafe making her offerings available here at La Plaza on Friday at 6 o'clock. So with that, muchas gracias a todos. Thank you so much, Esteban. Thank you, Jimena.
Thank you.
Adiós, gracias.
We'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.